Hello and welcome to Digital Woodcarving 101. My name is Laney Shaughnessy and congratulations on obtaining your new Digital Woodcarver CNC unit. Now in this video I'm going to walk you through the installation and setup of your Vectric design software, the CAD/CAM software that came with your machine. Whether you have Vectric VCarve Desktop, VCarve Pro or Aspire, the steps in this video will help you with the installation. Now the first thing we need to do is locate our Vectric flash drive so we can install the software. As you see on the screen here, there's a simulation, 3D simulation of the Vectric box. It'd be a black box with a flash drive located inside of it. Now as you open that box to get the flash drive, also notice that on the inside lid of the box you will have a label with a username and a license code. Now hang on to that, you're going to need that during this installation. So let's stick the flash drive into the computer and go through the steps of installing the software. So once the flash drive is installed, you should get a folder or file that pops up with the following options: resources, auto run, start.dat, and start.exe. The first thing you want to do is you want to click on the start.exe file, double click on it to begin opening that up and running it. And you'll get a screen that pops up on your computer that looks similar to what you see now. Now this is the Vectric VCarve Pro. Whether you have Aspire or desktop, your screen may look different as far as your installation screen. But we have options over here on the right hand side. Install the software, installing the clip art. We can also install tutorial files as well. The first thing we want to do, we're definitely going to be installing the software and the clip art. As far as the tutorial files, you don't necessarily need to install them unless you want to have them on the computer in case you're ever watching any of the tutorial videos and want to work along with it. You're going to be able to also obtain those files from the actual video on the Vectric support website. But if you'd like to have them ahead of time, you can install those tutorial files as well. First thing we want to do is we want to click on Install Software. Now, as it says here, it may take a moment to start. So when we double click on this, you're going to get a screen. You're going to get a screen that pops up that asks you if the program can make changes to the PC, and you want to click yes. Now during this video you might not have seen that screen. It might have blanked out for a moment. That's an operating window within the Windows software, and so it might not have shown up in this tutorial. Once you click yes, then the program wizard will start to pop up, and the first option that we have is selecting a language. We can select the language we want to work with. By default it's selected to English, so we'll click OK on that, and then the wizard will come up. So we want to click on Next. We want to look over the terms and conditions if you are into reading those and understanding what the terms and conditions are. Click I agree to move forward, and it will by default set up the show the components that are going to be installed. Let's click Next to go past this screen, and it's going to be creating a folder in your program files in your C drive. So we'll click Next for that, click Next again, and then it will begin the installation process. Now depending on the computer that you're using and stuff, how long this takes, it should only take just a few moments to go through the installation, so we will let this process through. Okay, once it's finished installing, you'll get up to the final screen, which is going to be running the VCarve Pro 9 with a Finish button. Go ahead and click Finish. And once it finishes, the first thing that will pop up on your screen is to enter the license code and the username and the license code. So we'll go ahead and let that screen pop up. Alright. So now that the screen's popped up, this is where we will go into our file, our box here. And let's move this out of the way so you can see. Inside that box you will find the username and the license code. Now the username, you want to type it in just like you see it on the label. Digital space wood space carver space, a little dash, and then your 3-digit number. You're going to type that into the registered username here. From there, you're going to need to enter the license code. So you're going to click on enter the license code in these boxes, and that's where you will type in all of the individual codes for that license code. And once you've done that, you'll then be able to open up and go into the software. So that will have installed the software. Now we still need to go through and install the clip art, all your models and things that came with your software. So the first thing we will do is we will go ahead and go back into our little start screen that's still up, and we're going to click on install clip art. And so you will go through and click yes. It's going to ask again for permission to make changes. You're going to click on install, and it will run through and install those items. Now with the Vectric VCarve desktop, you get about 350 models in clip art. The Vectric VCarve Pro about 450 items, and with the Aspire around 1500 items that will be installed. And so therefore let it run through the process and install those clip arts and models and everything for you. Alright, once it's finished installing the clip art, you can go ahead and click finish, and you're done with the installation of the software, unless you want to go ahead and run the tutorial installation as well. I typically don't like taking up that much space on the computer, so I will download those tutorial files as needed from the Vectric support when I'm watching that particular tutorial video. But if you want to get a little bit of jump on the game, you can go ahead and install those files as well. So now we'll go ahead and we're going to close out of the setup, and we can go ahead and minimize this, and we are done with the flash drive at this point. So we can go ahead and eject the Vectric flash drive from the computer so that you can remove that flash drive safely and everything. And go ahead and put it back in your box, and you would go ahead and put it back in the box and put that away for safekeeping in the future and things. Now in the actual Vectric software, you will want to do a couple of things for the setup. So we're going to set up a dummy file right now so we can get into the program and change some of the settings and adjustments. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to click on create a new file. And for the new file, we're going to just let whatever the defaults are, we're going to just click OK at the bottom, because we're not using this for creating a design or anything right now. We're just going through and adjusting the settings. So the first thing we want to do is you'll see an icon in the drawing tab where default takes you. You'll see an icon up here that looks like a little box with an arrow pointing to the right. That's to switch us over to the toolpath commands, because in the toolpath commands is where we have a couple of changes that we want to make. So the first thing is we'll go ahead and we'll set up our clock. If you have the mini carver, your rapid rate will be 125. If you have the 2440 unit, the digital wood carver 2440, your rapid rate will be 150. The scale factor for both of those machines will be 1.3. Okay. So we will, those are our two defaults. If you do have our 4x4 machine or our 4x8 machine, we'll just look and see what the rapid rates are for those two machines. I believe the rapids are 250 inches a minute, but you can definitely find that in the the specs of your machine and stuff where it's at. But the scale factor will be 1.3. So with that set up, once we hit close, it will default to that. So when we open it up, it will default to those numbers. Now, the most important thing is going to be displaying the tool database, which it looks like 3 router bits, the icon that looks like 3 router bits. So it will open up your default database for your tools. Now, you're not going to have all of these router bits that I have listed in my program. However, you will have some default that came with the program, some end mills, some V-bits, some ball nose. And we need to set those speeds and feeds appropriately. I have went in and in the flash drive that came with your unit that has the TNG controller software on there, as well as our Vectric post files and things, we will be able to find a speed and feed chart for those default bits that are in there that you can go through and walk through. And what you'll do is, just to let you know, inside the flash drive, in that 2440 flash drive, you'll have like the TNG software, spindle settings, and router bit tool profiles and things. Now, in the Vectric post folder, you will find a default bit speed and feed settings text file, and this will give you the feed rate and plunge rate and settings and all that. Those default bits in your Vectric software should be set to before you run a job and things, because the speed and feed part of those settings are not correct, right off the initial start. So be sure to go in and make those adjustments and things on those feed rates and plunge rates and stuff. All right, so that's where you'll find that in the 2440 or the 1824 files flash drive that came with your machine. Now, once we've done that, also on that flash drive is 3 post-processor files for your Vectric software. When we're saving a toolpath, we have to use a particular post-processor to create that G-code. So it writes that G-code in an order, in a fashion that the digital woodcarver will be able to run and understand. Well, we provided 3 post-processor files for you, and those post-processor files are also in the Vectric software. Now, if you have an earlier version of the Vectric software, vCarve 8, 8.5, or even 9, you'll want to take the post-processors out of this file and put them into the Vectric software. 9.5 and higher, these updated post-processors are already in there for you. So we're going to go ahead, while we're in this flash drive, we're going to go ahead and select these 3 files. You'll notice they're PP files. That's the ones that we want. And so those 3 PP files, we're going to right click and copy those. So that way we can go back into our Vectric software. And once again, we've already talked about going in and updating those speeds and feeds. And basically, you're going to click on your default tool, and you're going to make the adjustments in the feed rate and the plunge rate based on that chart that I just showed you. So, and you will click apply to lock in those changes, and OK to kind of close that out. Now, those post-processor files that we just copied, we're going to go into File, Open Application Data Folder, and in that data folder, we're going to find a folder that's called Post P, and we're going to open that up. Now, anywhere in white space, you can right click and click Paste, and it will tell you that there are 3 files or 2, depending on your program, that have the same name. What do you want to do? Well, we want to replace the files in that destination. So we're just going to let it go through and replace those. And that's it. Okay, that's all we have to do there. Now, we've adjusted the clock. We've talked about going into the tool database and adjusting the speeds and feeds, of those default tools using our speed and feed chart. Well, the last thing we want to do is the post processor when we're saving a toolpath. We want to make sure that it's selected in this toolpath area here. So the icon for saving toolpaths, we're going to open that up, and you're going to see a post processor. Now, by default, you're going to have a post processor that looks something like this: AXYZ 4010 ARCs, so on and so forth. And that's the default that comes with the program. Well, what we want to do is we want to drop down the list, and you want to go, it's in alphabetical order. You want to go down to the D's, and you want to grab the Digital Woodcarver Inch Tap Post Processor. Digital Woodcarver Inch Tap. And When you save your very first toolpath using, we have a program for you that you can run through for your first sign if you'd like in the next video. When you save your first toolpath, from that point on, it will default to that post processor. But if I set this now after just installing it and I close this out, sometimes it won't maintain that as a default. So be sure when you create your first design and you go to save the toolpaths for that first design that you change that post processor. And once you save those toolpath files for the first time, then it'll stay defaulted to that post processor for you. Alright, well that's it for installing and setting up the Vectric VCarve Pro desktop or Aspire software. Very simple. Stick in the flash drive and install your program as well as the clip art and run through the wizards and things. Be sure to go in and update your post processor files if you have an earlier version than 9.5. As well as update the speeds and feeds in your router bit, your speed and feed rate and plunge rate, should I say, in your tool database. Be sure to set your clock appropriately. And again, for the mini carvers, it's a 125 feed rate or rapid rate, and for the 2440 machines, it's a 150 rapid rate with a scale factor of 1.3. Adjust your post processor to the digital woodcarver inch.tap and you are off and ready to go. Now, in the flash drive files, we do have a project tutorial video getting started, creating your first sign. So let's take a look at what that would look like if we go back into our flash drive. You'll see a folder. This is how-to videos. And inside the folder how-to videos is Digital Woodcarving 101, your first sign. This will walk you through the designing and setup of the toolpaths for running your first sign. And then the following video will show you how to run that in your TNG software. So be sure to check that out to create your first sign and to get you started on the right foot. Now after that, of course, you would definitely be setting up an appointment with myself for your initial orientation training. You get a 2-hour orientation training on how to use the software and the machine. Alright, my name is Laney Shaughnessy, and check out the next video for how to install and set up the Planet CNC TNG motion controller software. Until then, see you soon.